And thanks again for talking and sharing today. You are a really amazing sign of success for yourself personally, but also for the population of folks that you're coming from. We talk about like being at Cal State, and I'm an alumni, so you immediately, and if you're a student athlete, you immediately have an affinity with someone who's gone to that college or been a student athlete, and you know what it goes through. Well, likewise, coming out of foster care and growing up in it, there's things that you've experienced that people only see in movies or they don't even really think about. And that's what we do with our life and existence. And I think that you're sharing the positive side of overcoming adversity, trial, tribulation, and coming out on the other end is very important to share, because so much of the stuff we get and read is negative, right? So even like the Sheeta thing, there's never an article about how much impact a professor's having at a college. They always just report on when something bad happens. So I think it's important for us to share the great stories. So thank you for agreeing to do this and for coming today. So tell me, what do you feel like the steps were that helped you overcome some of the barriers that typically present themselves for foster youth?
Some of the steps that helped me overcome, number one was my faith, for sure. Number one was my faith, and my grandparents, I have to thank for that. Just having something to hope in and believe in, that was constant, that was consistent, that was always there, that I found comfort in when everything else around me would go wrong. Just my hopes in God's word that everything was going to work out in my favor, because I believed in him and I loved him. And making that decision to believe what the word was saying, it always reinforced itself somehow, some way down my journey. So number one was my faith. Other reinforcers were I would say just several leaders that have come and gone in my life. I felt every time that I was going through a specific season in my life, there was always somebody that I felt was God sent that was encouraging me along the way. So people that I could give examples to would be mother figures, because my mother was not there most of the time. She, like I mentioned earlier, had schizophrenia, so she was in and out of metropolitan hospitals and things like that. My grandparents were my sustainers, they were my guardians, but sometimes you were missing that young parental figure. So it was always different women in the community or in education. I had teachers that were encouraging me, telling me like, Alisha, you have something special, you have this light inside of you and people look up to you, you're a leader. And I wouldn't have known that if it was just me, I wouldn't label myself as that, but people always brought it out of me and helped me see it. And so it was my decision to believe that, okay, I do have this inside of me, let me run with it and see where I can go. Coaches along the way, sports, oh my gosh, sports have been this huge thing in my life that has kept me anchored. So when everything is going crazy or emotional, just hard, I always had that sport to go to. So I played volleyball, basketball, ran track. And so every season, in the fall I played basketball, and in the fall I played volleyball, winter I did basketball, and then track and field was spring. And so just the rush and the confidence I gained from doing my job, playing my part of my team well, and being a student at that sport it gave me a rush, and it motivated me to, okay, I can use this as an avenue to get to where I really want to go to, and achieve a degree someday and this and that. So and just how physical wellness promoted my mental wellness was a big key thing for me. So it was my way of escape from chaos at home, and my way of escape just from any kind of stress that was going on. So sports has been that huge thing. So now it's weird that I've graduated and I don't have a sport to play. I'm like, what am I gonna do? So I'm thinking about picking up some new hobbies maybe that I put on hold: piano, guitar, martial arts again. So we'll see where it goes, but yeah, those have been huge sustainers to get me through. I'm so grateful for the connections I've made with people. I mean, like I said, every time it would be random. Somebody would just come out of the woodworks and encourage me and help me get through where I needed to go, build me up, and I go to the next place, like the next level. And then maybe I hit some kind of different level of like stickiness. And then there's another person that comes and mentors me all throughout my academic career, especially at CSUB, Guardian Scholars Program. They were a huge help for me to keep me going and keep me motivated. It helped me keep that vision in front of me. It never allowed me to get so clouded by everything I felt. And even Covenant, like meeting the workers here and people who work with me and walk with me through all of this and help me navigate all of the things and choices I have. They help me keep that vision there, so I know what I'm supposed to be focusing on and what my target is every step of the way. So yeah, there's been a lot of people that have helped me, and I'm grateful for it.
That's awesome. That's a great trait to have, is to recognize people that have helped us get where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things we always teach is that negative people seem to, when things are going well, they look in the mirror, and when things are going bad, they look out the window for people to blame. But
Mm-hmm.
positive people and people that try to grow, when things are going well, they look out the window to see who helped them get there.
Right.
And then when something isn't going right, they look in the mirror to see their part. So that's a great lesson you're sharing. You mentioned how you volunteer and some things you do in the community.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel that your work at Reach for Greatness impacted your own self-worth and position in the community to be a successful person, but also to kind of not make it all about you?
Right. So I see the different kids that come to group meetings and specifically with women and girls group that go on with Reach for Greatness, and even some of the outreach that they do, backpack giveaways and going into communities and neighborhoods and just giving out whatever we have to give. I see these kids, and it seems to me that all they long for is just some attention and love, and maybe they miss that at home. And so coming from where I've come from, not saying that I've been deprived of love and attention, but maybe it hasn't always been given to me in the healthiest way. And so I look at it as, okay, how can I give something maybe that I didn't necessarily have? And I look at how, how I've learned to receive that first, because if I don't receive it, how can I give it? So I looked about, okay, how can I receive this? So I received it from pastors. I received it from, like I said, different community members and mentors and people I look at as like mother figures, father figures. And I opened myself up to receive that. And maybe the kids are young, and so they don't know how to receive it just yet, but let me put it out there. Let me greet them with a smile. Let me encourage them. And hey, a lot for me, what worked is competitiveness. So challenging them at their own game or sport or things like that. And a lot of times when you challenge someone and they think they're on a certain level, but they're really not, and you come into that altercation, that's the moment that you can say, hey, maybe you don't know so much about this, or you're not that great in that area, but don't settle with me beating you, or don't settle with me, schooling you at this, your own game. Learn about it, or go practice some more, and maybe we can meet up next week and then show me what you did. Things like that. So it helps innovate the kids and put smiles on their face, and then it changes that energy from being negative to positive and just effective, doing something intentional. And then they become leaders too. in their community. So one of my girls that I'm working with or have been paired with for almost a year now is Christiana, and I've seen that in her. She's like a little version of me. It's so funny how you can see a lot of the things that you went through as a kid, and then you are there mentoring somebody else, and it's like, I can totally help you with this because I went through it, dude, and look at me. So that's how it is for me and Christiana. I see she loves basketball, she loves sports, and she just wants to be that greater thing in her family. She wants to be the one to make that difference. And so I just encourage her and give her the tools of how I made it through and how I use sports as that clutch and the thing to anchor me. And now I see her, like her teachers are showing how her personality has changed, her aura has changed, she's encouraging her peers, she's getting really good grades. So it's just listening to them and opening yourself up to giving what you have to give. Don't think about, because I'm not qualified in this or that I don't have anything. You always have something to give. So yeah, that's how I would say I am impacting these kids one kid at a time.
That's great.
Yeah.
You know, like we talk about, you know, some of the negative nature of the past, of folks that come out of the child welfare system, and the overcoming and resiliency that's needed to really have a successful life. And you know, you've shared about your faith, and I know that a lot of you struggle with their past defining their future.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we know that's not true. Your destiny is not set by your past, it's set
Right.
by the choices you make. But I think one important choice we often overlook is something that is tied to faith, and that's the issue of forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a time where you really had to work through those issues so that you could become not a bitter person, but a better person, and just kind of rely on letting go of some things?
Yeah, definitely. So I think one thing, forgiveness was a really big thing, and it still kind of touches home because it's something that I find myself still working through. It's a big topic, but so pretty much we internalize it. If I'm in the disposition of a child who's been through child abuse from their parents, we internalize it as they're the enemy because they've attacked me. And then you go through life thinking about who else is going to attack me, who else is really for me or says they're for me and they're not. And with this, my faith really had to, I guess, do some work in me, because I had to open myself up to this place of being vulnerable, and to this place of, okay, let me take into account what kind of place were they in as a parent. Maybe they didn't have what I'm asking for them to give me, so how could they have given it to me? And like love, and maybe just some support or encouraging words. And I think about my father, you know, all of the things that I went through with him, with physical abuse, and actually took the time to sit down and talk with him, my sister and I, and say, hey, why did we go through these things as a kid? Why did you choose to abuse us or punish us in this way? And he admitted to us and said, you know, I did have an alcohol problem, and I didn't have the parents to show me how to do these things growing up. So I was just going based off of what I knew and what was done for me. And at the time, my heart was hardened because I was upset and angry. I didn't want to receive that. But then at the end of the day, that's the fact of the matter. And how can I change that? I can't change that. So am I going to continue to live in something that I cannot change, or am I going to open up and receive that and use this opportunity to grow and mature? Because what if there's something that we can do later on in life that we don't know how to give, or we don't know how to do? We gave our best judgment on how to do it, and maybe it rubs the person the wrong way, or they don't receive it how we intend for them to receive it. Do we want them to hold us accountable for that, or should we ask them for forgiveness? Should they forgive us? So you think about how you're going to want things to be later on down life too. And I think that's something that maybe I just came to realization of right now. But yeah, that's the fact of the matter. That's what it is. And so you have to kind of like take that deep breath and say, all right, I'm going to put on my adult underwear, and this is what it is. So let me move, even though it may not feel good. Let me move in that and try to mature and move forward from that. Even with my mom, I mean, my mom passed away in 2010, and we didn't leave on the best terms. Even though my mother had a mental illness, a lot of times I would hear, that's not your mom that did this to you. It was the mental illness, or it was the disorder. But in me, the way I internalize it is, this is your face, your body. You attacked me in this way. You did this, not anything else. And the same thing goes for her. I mean, she can't give me what she didn't have or doesn't know how to give. And I felt really, really guilty. I was living with so much guilt coming out of high school, because that's when it happened. And I made the decision when I said, okay, I want to be more well, like mental wellness. I want to get well, and what's causing me not to get there. And I remembered how I didn't forgive my mom for the things or the ways that she treated me. And so what I did was I went to her graveside before I left to go study abroad from Spain. And I just sat there, and it was like as if I was talking to her, and I was telling her, I'm mad at you for this reason, and I don't know why you did this, I don't know why you treated me this way, and you hurt me. And I just let everything out. And by the time I was done, I remember, I remember God's grace. I remember how Jesus died on the cross, and he didn't have to do anything or go through anything that he went through for us, but he did anyway. And if this is who I say I'm trying to be like, if this is where I'm trying to go and reach this level of, even for me, spiritual maturity, what is it going to take for me to get there? Do I really want it? So then it came down to, how bad do you really want it? Are you going to keep ripping and pulling your all of the dirt and layers of junk that you're putting on yourself, or how are you going to get there? Because you have to go through this process. It's like a diamond. You go through a bunch of pressure and knocking off that dirt and everything, and then you have the finished product at the end. And so that's what I want. And I'm like, man, okay, this is what I have to go through. Like I said, again, put on your adult underwear and suck it up and move. But what is, I guess, an oxymoron about is that it's beautiful and it feels good at the end. The process doesn't feel good, but the end result feels good. I mean, to graduate, be the very first one in my family to graduate from a 4-year university is huge. And then to represent that 3% of kids who come from foster care, you don't realize all of the things that you're representing and who you're doing it for when you're going through it. It doesn't feel that way. But now look at the end result. I mean, I have an entire career set up. I have all of these opportunities set up. Why? Because I chose to be open. I chose to suck it up, maybe be the bigger person a few times when it didn't feel good, or even if I felt I didn't deserve to say sorry to anybody or anything like that. But the decisions I've made to, okay, let me take this one, because somehow, some way, I know it's probably gonna be good at the end of this. And so my decisions in doing all of that and opening up is so big. It's only a couple words, but it's probably the key to doing all of this and to being successful in all of this. Not thinking everybody is out to get you. Not everybody is against you. There are actually people on your team, but you have to open up to be receptive to that. And so if you're thinking, oh, I'm a part of the system and, woe is me, those kind of, having that mentality and being frustrated and hurt. You can be frustrated and hurt, we're human, but only for a short while. Don't allow that to be something that lasts years and years and years, or else you're never going to leave the place that you're in. Yeah. And if what you want is wholeness and to be well and to be healthy in all areas, physically, spiritually, mentally, you have to take it takes some opening up to do. So
it's interesting, you very wise, and I think that trauma can take us to a place where we either heal from it, right, and we become better. As an athlete, that we only get stronger when we put a stress load on our body. As a student, you only learn when you put a stress load on your brain. And spiritually, I think we really only develop more Christ-likeness when there's a stress load on those issues that make us make a choice. We can look like the world and be bitter and vindictive and nasty and mean and hateful, or we can choose a different way. And it's interesting listening to you share, because you're literally speaking our mission and vision at Covenant. We envision a world where every foster child lives in wholeness, spiritual, emotional, physical, relational, thereby ending the curse of child abuse and neglect in the community. Our short tagline, restoring lives, transforming generations. So you're going to college, it's not just paving your future, it's paving generations. And the things that will happen in your downline are things that didn't happen in the front part of your life, but you're changing that. And so generations from now, the Bird family extension will not have those same plagues or ills because of the struggles you went through to be stronger. And I think that's such a powerful message. And we talk a lot about foster care and foster youth only because that's who we're serving.
Right.
But these life lessons are applicable
to everybody.
They're just principles of hope. And one of our central themes that God shook me with early on was Jeremiah 29:11. And I know the thoughts I think of you, says the Lord, thoughts of good, not of evil, to give you a future and a hope. And I really do have a position that so many people in this world don't think that God does have a good thought for them. And they look at the outcomes of this negative world, people that hurt, harm, bring doubt, defeat, discouragement, and they attribute those to God.
Yeah.
Right? But the same people won't attribute the sunrise or the birds singing or the trees growing or the food on their plate to God. It's easy to look at the negative things and say, all this is a woe is me thing.
Yeah.
But to take the position you're taking, when you do really open up to that form of spirituality, and is there one person in the world that loves me when I'm unlovable? And we know from our faith that answer is God.
Right.
That gives you such a strength to operate life off, because you don't have to now perform for everybody else. You have to match up to that, as you began sharing with what the Word says. We matched up to that, and then I think that ultimately becomes the strength base from which we then operate our lives to touch others, as you mentioned with Reach for Greatness and mentoring and Christina. And I'm touched by our talk, and come to mind the passage, you're comforted by the comfort of God. And true ministry is then taking the comfort from which you've been comforted with and comforting others. And that's that whole, wounded healer kind of thing. If you've been healed from an injury, you can share with other people healing's possible. If you've come through a divorce, you can share with other people, I didn't get divorced. It's possible. If you've come through an addiction, it's possible. If you've come through foster care, it's possible. And I think that testimony is powerful in the sense of not just I love Jesus and we're all going to die and go to heaven, but while I'm on this earth, I'm going to get through the things that have tried to hold me down. And you're an athlete, you're a runner, and so the other passage that I think about is I run this race, and all those things that weigh me down, I cast them off. And I ditch them, and I leave them, and I run looking at that finish and keeping my eyes on the prize. And that's such a positive message of hope, and that's one of our massive values, that tomorrow can be better. And as an athlete, tomorrow can be better. Better your best, right? And I think that's such a inspiring message, and I just want to thank you for sharing today. And any final words of encouragement you would give would be awesome.
Final words of encouragement, I would just say for everyone out there, just to be receptive to what other people have to offer, advice, especially if they're more wise than you. And it's not to allow pride to eat you up. We can get so lost in saying I have it all together, I can figure this out on my own. But what is the purpose of a a stronger community around us. The point of connecting to people who are better off than you and who may have figured out some things you haven't yet is so that you can latch on to that and gain it yourself. So connect to a community that that offers that for you, that can offer the support, the love, the encouragement, and the guidance that you're looking for, so that you can be built up and then go ahead and touch others that need what you now have. So
Awesome. Well, Alisha, thank you. Hey, hold on.
Oh.
World, you watch out for this girl, Alisha Bird, rocking it, killing it. Glad you shared today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Man.
I hope it's